In this video, I'm going to talk to you about our fingerprints. Now, fingerprints are so unique. There are no two people in the whole world with the same fingerprint. Even identical twins who have the same DNA will have different fingerprints. So fingerprints are so unique, and that is why they're mapped and they're there to help ID us. So that's when the police take your fingerprints and things like this. So I want you to be able to look at your fingerprints. You can see the patterns on them really well, but I want you to be able to actually identify the patterns and understand which of your fingerprints show similar patterns and which show different patterns. So let's start first of all with a bit of knowledge. There are three main patterns, and I'm going to show you those here. The first pattern is called an arch. This is where the base is a little bit flat and it starts to curve upwards, and you'll see an arched pattern becoming really clear. Second pattern is called a loop. Now this can come in from the left hand side or the right hand side, but it comes in and you'll see a pattern looping around. The last pattern you can identify is a whirl. Starts in the centre and whirls outwards. Now you've looked at those patterns, you should be able to identify your own. So I'm going to challenge you to make your own little ID card. So this is my ID card. I've done my thumb, I've done my index finger and my ring finger. I'm going to show you how to do these so they stand out on black if you haven't got sort of printer ink or stamp ink at home. And I've identified the main structures in each fingerprint, and my fingerprints are totally different. I've got 2 or 3 that show maybe an arch and 1 or 2 that show a loop, and that's just on my right hand. I haven't yet analysed my left hand. So there's 2 ways to do this. The first way is ink. If you have this ink at home, if you have, for example, stamp ink, that's the super most simple, easy way to do it, is you stamp it on your thumb or your fingers, and then you transfer it onto paper. Okay, so once you've got your ink, you're going to get your thumb, you're going to place it in. You might want to get rid of a bit of excess so that it doesn't just leave a big green blob. In my case, it actually shows the grooves that I want. Okay, so now I've done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my fingerprint. I'm going to place my thumb down and I'm just going to swipe from left to right without actually taking it off or sliding it. Okay, so push it down hard, just from left to right. Okay, and then you should be able to identify in it the main lines within your fingerprint. Okay, that was my first attempt. So before I go on, I'm just going to quickly wipe my finger. Okay, so you can do that for all of your fingers if you'd like, and it is able to it does give you a really clear idea. So this is a partial part of my print, and what I can do is I can identify that in my print here I would have an arch. So I'm going to say here I have an arch just in that bit there. So I can identify that main structure in my fingerprint and what it looks like. For the second one, if you don't have this sort of stamp ink at home, there are loads of other ways you can see your fingerprint. Not only do you see it every time you peel off a piece of sellotape, but we can also use things that we have around the house like flour, sugar, salt, and one thing that I think is really good is talcum powder. Okay, so I've got some baby talcum powder here. I'm going to use that to be able to view my thumbprint a little bit easier, and then I'm going to put it on a bit of black paper so it stands out. I can identify my structures and develop my own ID card. So first of all, a little bit of talcum powder. I'm going to just pop it on a spare bit of paper so it doesn't go everywhere. There we go. Okay. So this time again, I'm going to start with my thumb, still slightly green, and I'm going to pop my thumb in the talcum powder. Okay. Now you will pick up excess, so make sure you blow off a little bit of the excess. So you have just your thumb in talcum powder. And then what I'm going to do is, using a bit of sellotape, I'm going to pop my thumb on the sellotape. I'm going to go this way to get my hole. Okay. And that should take the talcum powder off in the same sequence as my thumbprint. Same pattern. Amazing. Okay, then I can stick that on my black paper. And I should be able to identify my print from that. I'm going to do one more to show you. So my finger in, talcum powder. Excess. Print and down. So I'm going to give you a look now. Once you've done a few of those, you'll get really quick and really confident at identifying those structures. You want your loop, you want your whirl, and then you want your arch. See which ones you have in your fingers. Is your right the same as your left? It's really, really interesting. You can make these for your family as well if you like, your own little ID cards, and get investigating.